Ladies and gents, Seahawks fans of all ages, welcome back to the 12 Talk podcast for this bonus episode. This is a mock draft that myself and Mitch are going to try and rebuild the L.O.B, but with a caveat. We know we're never going to find another L.O.B. They're never going to be the same. But we're going to be looking at players that have the same kind of traits who could, within a few years, become that unit. We've also got a couple of bits of news as well that we'll go through. And then we will get onto the draft. But first of all, Mitch, how you doing, dude?
Yeah, very good, very good. It's been an interesting week of news, hasn't it? With the new rules that have been voted in, and some of them more controversial than others. And I know one of them will get you talking about a very passionate subject, that you like to touch on. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's interesting that we're starting to see how our roster is going to look, and we're also starting to see how the new league rules and the way the game's going to be played is going to look, and some of it's going to look very different, I think.
I think so too. I think it's opening it up for a bit more of a contest. So I mean, let's start first of all with the new kickoff rules. Mitch, I'll let you take this one away. I think so.
Yeah, sure. So for anyone that's watched the XFL, they'd have seen a lot of this already, and it basically revolves around it's no longer a high-speed pursuit of the ball once it's been kicked. It's a case of the receiving team trying to create gaps, almost like an extended line of scrimmage, and trying to hit gaps. And the team trying to catch the kicker have to beat that line in order to close down the kicker. So essentially, you're going to see more scheming up of gaps rather than going a certain way and assembling blocks and you know what I mean? So we're going to see less high impact, which doesn't sound as exciting, but actually I think we're going to see the ball returned further, and we're going to see more creativity, I think, and less injuries.
Yeah,
and I think one of the things. Sorry, Karen, get you go.
I was going to say, I'm with you. More creativity. There's going to be a bit more excitement about it as well. Because, like I said, they're going to be drawing up plays on what to do. And you also, whilst we were off air, you put in a very good point about what we don't see currently on kickoffs or kickoff returns, which is
the fatties, the
yes.
linemen. They're going to get a run out. They've got their place on kickoff returns now. I think seeing O linemen and D linemen out there trying to push and pull and create gaps, it's going to be really interesting. I think if you were an O lineman on a practice squad, you're probably only really seeing the field on field goals, and protecting punts and stuff. I really think it's great that kickoff returns are going to see. We're going to get to see the guys we never really see until we're very injured, as well. So
I like
that.
I like it. I think and we'll come on to this with the hip drop tackle thing as well. Sports are always going to look at ways to improve, to make them more exciting and accessible to a fan base, to anyone who wants to come and play at an amateur level. And if this is going to do that and make it more exciting rather than, oh, he's caught the ball in the end zone and taken a knee, or he's just kicked it out of the end zone and nothing happens, you just take it back to the 25-yard line, which is the most tedious thing to see. We all want to see someone like a Devin Hester running the ball back with the possibility of scoring a TD every time.
Yeah,
this is going to give people more of that. I mean, whilst we're sort of talking about these rule changes, the hip drop tackle, I'm going to mention it here because I've been on a little social media tirade about it, and I've seen NFL players, coaches, fans in their masses talking about how it's a ridiculous premise. It's not a ridiculous premise. It's a dangerous way of tackling. If you're going to grab someone from behind or the side and use all of your body weight through your butt to try and sink down and bring them to the floor, we saw it with Geno against the Jets, wasn't it? Where all that's going to lead to is a big boy defender falling onto a wide receiver, tight end, running back, quarterback, and potentially breaking a leg, hyperextending it, snapping tendons. It's pointless. the whole thing of the league now being up in arms because it's something that's been taught from day dot. You evolve, you move on. I've shared multiple rugby clips on, and I will do this a lot for anyone who wants to come at me about it. I've shared multiple rugby clips about rugby players tackling with good technique from the side, from behind players. That doesn't mean they have to drop all of their weight through their butt to try and bring them down. You use your ankles, knees, and hips. You crouch into a good position and you project yourself through the tackle. I understand that yardage is a thing with the NFL, but you can still stop players in their tracks by doing it. And you don't necessarily have to then try and drag them down using your butt and all of your weight that way, forcing an injury. I will just keep sharing these videos for people to see how it needs to be done. And with that, I will take a breath. And Mitch, feel free to jump in there.
Yeah, good timing. Yeah, I was going to say, I think part of the issue some players have with it is the speed at which the game is played and the urgency at which they need to bring someone down with immediate effect. Because, like you say, of the yardage, I hope that when it comes to officiating it, tackles made like that at high speed in desperate situations, they look at the intent. Like, was he intending to finish the tackle in that position, or has the situation ended up with it looking like that, whereas it wasn't instigated like that? If you think back to the one against the Giants, it was the Giants, wasn't it, when Gino got injured? When you look at that one, Gino's not a mover, but he was heading out to the sideline, just trotting away, and someone's tackled him and done the hip drop. They swung all the way around, landed on his ankles. He's had to go off. The injury was as a result of being tackled in that way when it was needless because he was already heading out of play. And it's not like he's renowned for faking like a baseball slide and then getting another 5-6 yards when defenders pull out of tackles. He's never done that. He's not the kind of quarterback that does that kind of thing. He was literally leaving the field. So that would be a prime instance of that being a great time to enforce that. Needlessly risk someone. However, on the flip side, if he was trying to continue running down the sideline, trying to get a first down, and someone desperately wrangled him into touch that way, I'm absolutely fine with that not being penalized because that player put someone in a desperate situation where they had to stop the player. Do you see what I mean? I think I know it's contentious, but
I see what you mean. I just don't agree with it. I
just think there's going to be situations where you're in more trouble with the coaching staff if you didn't put a tackle in that moment.
But put it in the right way.
But if you end up, I just think there's going to be desperate situations where more than over technique, over player safety, players will just try and stop the play right there and then to make that play. And I think sometimes you'll end up in situations where it looks like that kind of tackle. And I hope the refs are lenient in some situations. I don't think they all need penalizing is what I'm trying to say.
A degree of common sense needs to be in there. I completely agree. Like if it's a matter of you're trying to desperately cling on to someone. So if you're clinging onto the back of a Derrick Henry who's just dragging you along like you're a rag doll.
You and the other two people, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. You're losing your footing and you end up just collapsing in a heap while still grabbing him. That for me, that's contentious. That's where a ref needs to go. You were actually trying to tackle him, but you've lost your footing. That's happened. But the big conversation piece about this needs to be about the technique that's being taught. So it needs to be eradicated now. You don't teach people to do that. In rugby, we've had our tackle height dropped now to essentially, they say below the nipple. But then depending on what position you are, depends on how high your nipples are.
Well, there's a lot of height difference in rugby as well. Second row player getting tackled by a scrum half, that's not a problem.
It's never going to be a high tackle.
But in reverse, it can be a serious problem, trying to actually adhere to that. And I think that will be similar here. I think there'll be situations where it's very, very difficult, even with the right technique, to avoid these situations entirely.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just going to be coaching. It's going to be a continuous coaching. It's the evolution of it. And it's going to get to a point where in a few years, people won't even remember this conversation because people will be tackling in a different way. They will have morphed into a different tackle technique that does the exact same job, but it's not as dangerous. With that, I mean, there's obviously things coming out. We'll park that because this will be a pod just about that. And this is something that I might do by myself, or if anyone else wants to jump on with me to discuss it, let's do it. Before we go, one of our regular viewers, UK 12 man, I like the rule for the same reasons as me. Well, thank you very much. But I think it's impossible at times for the refs to call in real time and opens up for a lot of post-game fines, which I hate, which we all do. And especially as I think they've said that it's not going to be reviewable, which is going to be referees on the field saying that's that and that's it. But that's something I'll be looking into. We've also had the owners' conference as well that's happened. There's been stuff coming out about Mike Mack and saying that in his defense, if you can't blitz, then that's something that needs to be addressed. So that might be something we need to factor into this mock as well. So without further ado, I'm just going to quickly put out there that our mocks for this pre-season are being brought to you by the UK Seahawkers. Now, they've been very kind enough to ask us if we can give them a shout out on this, which we're more than happy to, because we're both card carrying members. You can join the UK Seahawkers, if I can get to the right slide, for £12 for the year for individual memberships, £20 for families. You get loads of free goodies. This year it's all throwback related. You get a lovely patch to put on a jersey. You get your wristband, which I wear every day. You get your membership card, and you get an RFD card to stop your cards getting scanned from dodgy people wherever you are. And if you join before the end of this month, so only a couple of days left, you'll be in with a chance to win a signed Walter Jones photo. Big Walt, we love him. And then you also get the annual meetups. So this year it's in Newark-on-Trent, which, as I found out following our last pod with Dan Viens, where I wasn't sure, it is in Nottinghamshire, which is the middle of the country. And I'd just like to welcome to the pod one of my fantasy football friends, Stuart, who, as some people may see, is a Raiders fan. So hi, Stu. So yeah, with that, Mitch, shall we hit the theme music and get cracking?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's drown out the Raiders.
Let's do it. There we go. So thank you very much for the contribution there, Stu. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot more. Here we go. So it's all going now. So we are dedicated fantasy football players. I've just had my pick in the draft for this year, and my commissioners in there. Hi, Paul. Raiders. I don't know. Thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Well, whilst we're at it, just very quickly, thank you to everyone who's tuned in for the last pod with Dan Viens. If you've not checked it out, go and check it out. It's on our YouTube. It's on all your favorite podcasting apps. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share where you can. Paul, thank you for sharing it within our group. And if you like what we're doing, you can buy us a coffee. The link is in the description below. It doesn't have to be a coffee, it can be a beer. And if you want to talk Seahawks, or you are going to be one of my fantasy football friends that are just going to join for the sake of it, you can join our Discord as well. Mitch is the Discord king, and he will be keeping a very close eye on you if he knows you're not a Seahawks fan. So, yeah. Right. And with that, so, Mitch, we are going to be using PFM again. We had a discussion earlier about using some other mock draft databases. But this is the closest to real. If I'm right, I'll let you take it away as to why you've decided on this one.
Yeah, to be honest, the main reason I wanted to use PFN tonight was that we're trying to sort of target a few prospects that have certain traits that we've missed in some of our more famed defensive pieces. and I find PFN's simulator quite intuitive to navigate around and create trades manually or whatnot. So I was more confident in our ability to move around on a live stream and actually get to the players that we're thinking of taking, rather than a less known engine. So, but yeah, it is my favorite. PFN's my favorite for sure. So
yeah, I've been trying a lot. As I said on the last pod, I really like Mock Draft Database, especially on your phones. It's nice and easy. I think the interface is just it's really clean. However, they don't give you the player profiles. I did try NFL Draft Buzz as well, but that it's a lot. It's like a sensory overload as soon as it comes in. I'm not a massive fan of it. I will persevere though. But for the sake of this, let's use PFM. We've gone 7 rounds, only the Seahawks, and we're going to do it on fast because this is a short bonus pod. Let's get into it. Right. And we'll review sort of who went first, but for some reason, Caleb Williams never goes first. And if he has on this one, I didn't spot it. So to start with, and you know what? I'm really happy with this because this is my preferred trade destination from 16. So with
me too.
Pick 16, we've got the Detroit Lions who've come in offering us 29, 61 and 73 for pick 16 and pick 118. Now, I'm not sure where that would be on the trade charts. For the sake of this, I'd take it all day, every day, because as I've said before, I think the Lions are a team that are looking to build on last year and will want to take what is perceived as a premium player. We've then had the Eagles come in.
Which is another favourite.
Yeah. They want to offer us pick 22 and 50 for 16 and 102. And I think that's probably more realistic if we're looking at it. But before we actually go into that, what players are available? Fuaga's available, Quinion Mitchell, Amarius Mims, Latham, a plethora of others there. But Mitch, with regard to this, and even though we're looking to try and rebuild some sort of L.O.B, not every pick is going to be geared towards that. We're still going to be looking at the rest of the needs for the team. What is your preferred for this?
I mean, I'm always going to prefer a trade back, because whether we take an offensive lineman with the first pick after a trade back, or whether we take an offensive lineman with the second round pick, either way we improve our starting offensive line, and that needs to happen. Whether we're targeting defensive pieces to mimic those players we've had historically, we need to get right with the offensive line, and we'll need to pick up a second round pick and do that on one of those two picks. So for me personally, I think the most realistic trade is the Eagles, and I think that 50th pick is right about where we want to be picking as well. So I like it if you like it.
Yep, let's lock it in. All right. And let's just quickly see who they took. They took Quinion Mitchell with pick 16.
Which is something I could see happening, honestly. He is a serious competitor, and he is exactly what I would want if I had their roster. So I think that's actually a remarkably sensible bit of simulation.
Yeah.
To be honest,
I was quite surprised by it, if I'm honest. So we're now at 22. So I will run through some trade offers, but I'm quite a fan of sort of maybe sticking and picking all of this one.
I think so as well. I think the amount of capital that gets offered for a late or a later first round here tends to be quite unrealistic. That one certainly is, with the 51st, the 84th, 119th, and a future second.
Yeah, from the
for
Steelers.
A late first rounder.
No, it's not going to happen.
Not for me.
And then you've got the Bengals coming in with 49, 80, 97, and next year's second for 22nd and 235. And then the Cardinals. Now, I refuse to trade within division.
Do you?
Well,
I love that trade though for us.
I'll go down. That's the worst thing about it. If it was the 49ers, as people have listened to any of these before or watched them, I just click reject straight away. But that, looking at who's still on the board, so the Cardinals have offered us 27 and 66 for 22 and 179. On the board is still Johnny Newton, Byron Murphy, JPJ, Wiggins, DeJean, McKinstry, Guyton, Coleman, Nix, Barton, and Mitchell are just the top ones on this. So we would go back 5, picking up 66. And
that's a no-brainer deal. It's a no-brainer deal because we're moving back 5, and there's still 5 players on that board that would be immediate impact starters.
Yeah.
I just don't think we can. And also, if we're trying to create a set of defensive weaponry, and we picked up a 50th and a 66th, and can still improve the offensive line in round 1, home run.
Yeah. All right. We'll take it. All right. I'm going against all my principles here. And I think, do we just reject the next 2?
Just pick at this point, yeah.
Yeah. So the Bills offered us 28 and another. I didn't even spot. Dallas offered us 56 and 87, and next year's second, but we'll reject that. So now picking at 27, and we have a choice. We've got Johnny Newton, JPJ, Cooper DeJean, and I still, the more and more I watch of Cooper DeJean, I just think that Mike Mack would absolutely love to have him on his team. For his positional versatility as well. And then you've got the wide receivers, couple of quarterbacks there in Nix and Penix. And you've got Jordan Morgan and Christian Hayes, the top of the crop. What are you thinking here, Mitch?
I'm thinking there's only one player left on the board that I think the Seahawks will have a first-round grade on, and that's Johnny Newton.
Johnny Newton. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
I think if positional need is taking over, JPJ, Cooper DeJean are ticking a lot of boxes. But I think if you've traded back twice in the first round and you had 16, 17 first round grades, you're picking at 27 and there's still one on the board. Like we had last year when we picked in the second round, we had first round grade on our edge rusher.
Derek Hall.
Derek Hall. Yeah, Derek Hall, we had a first round grade on. He was there in the second. Absolutely run to the podium,
yeah,
I think, for Newton. And we've got the 50th and the 66th in order to take a lineman.
Yeah. Right. There you go. Johnny Newton, you're a Seahawk. He seems to be there on all of our drafts as well. So I absolutely love.
I think it's just positional need. I don't think there's many people looking to take first round offensive linemen.
Right, so again, at 50, we've been offered a trade. So for 50th and the 118th, we're offered the 60th and next year's second from the Buffalo Bills. Just go ahead and reject that one, yeah? But then next, from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they've offered us a 57th and 89th for our 50th and 192nd.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit off. I would take it, but I think if we were being realistic, we'd probably throw in a future 5th, one of our comp picks or something to sweeten that.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a little bit in our favor. But I do think that bringing a 192 pick up to 89 really ties into what we're trying to do with building this defense. There's going to be some serious talent at the back end of the third. Players like Junior Colson that you might be able to pick up with that pick. I mean, we don't really need to throw. I would throw it. Yeah, just throw in it like Seattle's 2025 5th. I think because we've got two.
It's not even on there. The comp pick isn't even there.
Oh, we're just chucking a 6th. It doesn't matter. It's just for realism. I think we'd need to give up slightly more than that, but
that's fine. So we're taking that trade then.
I 100% think so.
Yeah. All right. There we go. Right, and let's just. So, who do they pick? They pick Darius Robinson with the 50th. My boy Leonard Taylor's just gone to the Cardinals as well. Right.
Yeah, Tyler Nubin just going off the boards as a stinger as well, because that would have been a superb way to start building secondary. But there is a guy. I'm looking at. My eyes are fixed on Cameron Kinchins there, and some people are their opinion of him has dropped post combine. People have commented that he didn't seem to really put in the effort that other people have, and he had a slightly down year this year, I think, on last year. He came flying out of 2022. People expected huge things, and then the combine, his stock has dropped from being number 1, number 2 safety in this draft to now being a mid-second round, possibly dropping into the 3rd on some boards. But it still remains that he is an absolutely no-nonsense hammer in the secondary. And when people think about the Legion of Boom, that's exactly what they look to restore. So I don't think we can look too far past Kitchens, but there are a lot of options to consider as well.
For those listening on audio, so we've got at the top of our board now, looks like Trey Benson, Kam Kinchins, we've got Michael Hall Jr., Jatavian Sanders, Braylon Trice, Ben Sinnott, Chris Jenkins, who I think may be creeping up our draft board as a Seahawks, because I think his leadership and his qualities won't be overlooked by Mike Mack.
Pedigree as well, because his dad played in the league as well. So
exactly. Max Melton, brother of Bo, who we drafted and released, who's having a bit of a resurgence in Green Bay. And Xavier Legette. Anyone who hasn't heard Xavier Legette in any interview, I implore you, go and listen or go and watch it. It is fantastic. That accent is chef's kiss. It's peak. It's like Forrest Gump. It is amazing. And then we've got Peyton Wilson and Jonathan Brooks. I think you're right. It's going to be Kam Kinchins, but I just saw Xavier Legette there, and I thought that's just amazing television. Right.
Yeah, and I think is Wilson still there? Peyton Wilson is still there.
Yeah. So we're just going
to run to the podium and take him. I think if you can add Newt. We do. What have we got offensive line wise though? Because we've neglected it slightly to this point. We might still have a shot.
So let's have a look. Who are we? If we're looking at guards, who's still on the board? So our next pick's 81.
Pooney.
Mahogany Pooney, Brandon Coleman, who I'm a big fan of, purely for his versatility there as well, and played at a really high level at TCU. Robinson's still there. McCormick, Zach Zinter's still down there at 147 on this.
Javian Cohen as well.
Yeah. And then
what are our next picks? Because we traded away some of our later stuff. What are we looking at?
We've got 81 and 89. Then we've got 118 and 235.
Okay.
So if we're looking at rebuilding the L.O.B. as it stands, I think looking at the team as it is, we've still got, obviously we've got Witherspoon, we've got Reek. If he can sort his tackling issues out, will be fantastic in coverage anyway. Then Brown's still there. We've re-signed Mike Jack. So that's our cornerbacks. I think we could probably do with another cornerback. Safety-wise, we've now got Love, Roshan Jenkins, and we've got Jarrett Reed,
Kevin Wallace as well.
Kevin Wallace. Just 1 second. Let me just see if he's still there, and what, in fact, if he's actually down as a linebacker, or James Williams there, who is that Swiss Army knife hitter, the Miami mutant, as they call him.
We've actually got an absolute wealth of linebackers there. There was quickly switch it back to linebacker. There's Trevin Wallace as well, who's been skyrocketing up boards as well. Tyron Hopper is a funny one. We might be able to get him later, and if we do get close to taking him, I'll tell you some stuff. He was one of my most hated linebackers for us pre-Mike Mack, and then since we've become a Mike Mack defense, he's actually become weirdly a fantastic scheme fit. But he was an awful fit for the previous defense, which is kind of a really interesting, because we're all looking at now at, can our linebackers cover? But actually, if you were going back to last year, if I'd have said to you, that's a linebacker, but he's not the strongest tackler, you'd have immediately thought, okay, that's not a Seahawks linebacker. But now the makeup of Tyron Hopper is perfect. That's a blitzing, covering linebacker that needs to work on his tackling technique. And suddenly that becomes quite tempting. Very good sideline to sideline as well. So potential there for that.
In round 3, if Peyton Wilson's still there, but I don't think he will be. Again, I'd run to the podium for him, for everything that I can offer you.
I think it's fine, and we've got quite a lot of mid-round picks there where we can take another lineman, and there are quite a lot there, including Zach Zinter, who's a favourite. So
so there you go. Peyton Wilson, you're in, and we're back on the board at 81. We've had trade offers from the Bengals, who are offering for our 81st and our 4th next year, 97, and next year's 3rd. And then the Vikings have come in with 108 and next year's third. Now, what are your thoughts on this, Mitch?
I think we've got an awful lot of options to start picking starters on our defense or players that are going to compete with the 1-year deal players we've brought in, with a view to next year being cost effective and young and talented. I just don't think we want to pass up on those at this point. There's some serious talent there for us.
So on our board, for those listening, we've got Chris Jenkins, Cole Bishop. Sorry, it's a pollen count season and my voice and everything else being affected. Mahogany, we've got Braden Allen, Javen Bullard, Trevin Wallace, Chris Abrams-Drain, who I would love to see in our secondary, to be very honest. Roger Rosengarten, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., DJ James, and McKinley Jackson. They're the top of the board. So far we've picked a defensive tackle in Johnny Newton, a safety in Cameron Kinchins, and a linebacker in Peyton Wilson. Now,
flip it to offensive lineman. I just want to make sure that before I go crazy with another defensive lineman, we're not missing out. So the only offensive lineman we stand to lose here is Mahogany, and I'd rather have Zinter. So I really don't mind continuing with defense here. And you mentioned Abrams Drain.
Yeah,
that is an absolute thumper of a corner, and I really like it. I know we've got Trey Brown as well, who I think this year will have serious, meaningful snaps, rather than the sort of shared role he had last year. I think he's going to be his contract year as well. I think it's Trey Brown's season, to be honest.
Yeah.
But should we not be able to bring him back after next year, we may have a serious opening there, and we are going to be shuffling the pack, and we are going to be leaning on utility players that can do more than one thing. He is that guy. I actually really like it. I really like it.
Finally, we get to do a mock. We take him.
Well, we haven't taken him, but his strengths really stand out. He's a real hitter, and I will say this as well. He's a hitter at the perimeter with excellent closing speed. He leaves his footprint on the forehead of the players he hits, and I absolutely love the intent. He's also got the frame to be able to do that without putting his body at risk. I do worry a little bit with Witherspoon that he hits like a guy 3 or 4 inches taller than he is, and he risks himself a bit. Drain's got the framework to weather that a bit. So I really like the pick.
Yeah,
we're doing it.
I'm more than happy to lock that in. I've been dying to be able to put him in one of our mocks for so long. And here we go.
That's good feedback.
Chris Abrams-Drain is the Sherman in the new L.O.B. wide receiver turned cornerback. Thank you. The pick is in. Yes. Right, and then we're 89 now. I don't even really want to entertain trade talks here because I think we're building a good roster. And we're building it with starting caliber players.
Yeah.
But we've had the Saints come in for our 89th and next year's 7th with 150, 168 and a third for next year. And the Bills back again with 128 and a third. You're going to say you quite like the New Orleans trade, aren't you?
I'm going to say with those picks, I think there's a pick in there that could be Zach Zinter. And then, I mean, the future picks, they don't concern us right now, do they? But they just balance out what this trade offer is. But picking at 150 and picking at 168, I actually think really adds to what we've done so far. I don't think picking another player to compete with the players we've picked, plus the players we picked up in free agency, I don't think we'll feel that investment with the draft capital this year or possibly next year. So I actually like extending the depth chart a little bit with a couple of offensive line piece, with those later picks. I like it. Do you agree with that?
I'll take it. I'm
Okay.
I'm
It's a
I'm
good offer
always a
anyway.
fan of trading back and getting some more. Yeah, I mean, when you look at how close together those picks are, and look at who's on the board for us here. So we've got a safety. We've already taken a safety. Guards, as you've said, we can take later on. Roger Rosengarten's the tackle. Linebacker, we've already taken a linebacker. Cornerbacks, we've taken them. Defensive tackle, taken them.
Amagaji's the one on the board that I'm gonna regret
Yeah.
passing for, but I do like this. I think this puts us in a good position to add to what we've done.
Let's do it. So accepted that. I'm just watching all these players come
And we
off the
actually
board.
pick one more time before then anyway, which
We do. 118, and again, the Buffalo Bills have come in
they're
hot.
desperate.
Yeah, they are desperate. There's someone on that board that they're desperate to have. They've offered us 144, 160, and 200. And
Yeah, not for me. I think we just take another pick here. There's a really, really good player on there. We could make Dan Viennes a very happy man here, with Jaden Hicks.
Yeah,
he'd be very pleased with that, I think. Before we do it, just offensive players there. Is there a guy that's fallen? Sorry, on the offensive line side, sorry.
so if we go guards, no, they're all there.
There's no player that's fallen.
No one
Any
that's
of those
fallen.
would be a reach. No? Okay, well, I'm comfortable then. There's Makai Wingo there as well. Really nice, really. But we've upgraded defensive line. We've already got the most heavily paid in defensive line in the league. Whether their production last year
matches the
looked
pay.
like it or not, we're paying the defensive line record money in the NFL this year. So adding 2 high picks into, let's say not high, it's a mid round, isn't it? But 2 picks I don't think would work. I like Jaden Hicks here, honestly.
Yep.
We've added some serious quality in the middle of the field there.
And that's exactly what Mike Mack said. He wants to build the defense through the middle. So there we go. We're going Jaden Hicks.
Yep.
Jaden Hicks it is. Welcome back to Washington State.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome, Dan. Right, so straight away, the next trade we get, and anyone who's watched or listened to any of these will know that it's an outright no from me. I don't care how many picks they give me. I am not giving the 49ers more firepower. And this is pick 176, 211, and 215 for pick 150. No, Mitch.
No, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. Cardinals I can stretch to. Niners never.
And I think, are we both in agreement here that it's either going to be Layden Robinson or Zach Zinter?
Yeah, or both. I actually quite like going both if one's there, but I think Zinter's the one we don't want to miss out on. So there's Bo Limmer there as well, who I really like. But yeah, no, so Zach Zinter I think comes off the board here. I'm actually fine with what we've done on, unless there's a nice edge to add to that group we've taken. I think going offensive line here.
Jonah Ellis. Tupuola for two is there. Well, I think that'd be a reach. I think you're right. Zach Zinter. Looking at the borders we've got there, Jalen Wright, Layden Robinson, Jordan Jefferson, Bo Limmer, Zach Zinter, and you got to Tyke Smith. And Oladapo is probably the only other one I'd look at there, maybe.
We've addressed safety quite heavily.
Exactly.
Oladapo late on though is a great example of another hitter that I would like. He plays with serious physicality. If we hadn't got someone like Kam Kitchens in there earlier on, that's a slam dunk there.
Zach Zinter.
Zach Zinter's the one. Yeah, for
He's
sure.
in. Right, we pick again at 168, and we have no trade offers. I think the league has now got the note.
The idea.
Right.
Yeah. What are we looking like at tackle here? Who's the top tackle prospect or versatile? Okay, let's have a look.
Christian Jones from Texas, but that's a reach because that's 182.
Yeah.
Caden Wallace. There's not really anyone that floats my boat, if I'm being completely honest.
It's all pretty dry there, yeah. Never mind. Anyone in there?
Guards.
Satoa Lamea there as well, but we can get him later.
Well, we can hopefully if he falls to 235.
Yeah, we can get him with that one, I think.
So then what are we looking at here? So a quick recap of what the new Legion of Boom could look like. So if we're looking for the future, you're going to have Kinchins playing at what's effectively the strong safety.
Yeah, I mean, we're playing too high safety a lot, but yeah, he'll be everywhere anyway.
Mm-hmm. And then if we retain Woolen, then on the outside, you're potentially going to have Woolen and Abrams Drain.
Yeah, or Brown and Abrams Drain, or Brown and Woolen. You pick your poison.
Witherspoon in the nickel. Mm-hmm. We potentially could move outside as well. I think rotationally as a Legion of Boom, I think there's probably more players there that could offer more than what we had with the previous iteration. I might get a lot of hate and stick for that, but
no, I think you're absolutely right. I think we relied a lot on our starters to stay fit and be in there doing. We didn't have a huge amount of rotate. I think we had more rotation at corner and edge back then, but every other position we needed everyone to stay fit. I think at that point in time.
Agreed. Again, Ryan Grubb having nightmares over the stress.
Yeah, he got his guard. Don't you worry.
There you go. We got him something. He doesn't need a lot. The offense has actually got weapons. It just needs to be utilized properly. I think for this, I'm not above either going wide receiver, for a bit more depth, because I'd really like Taj Washington. Eric All, the tight end from Iowa as well, because I think we need another tight end. We've got who's on the board. So All, Tanner McLaughlin, Dallin Holker, Brevin Spamford, AJ Barner, your boy, and Tip Ryman's there as well, who might be in reach at 235.
Yeah, Tip Ryman and AJ Barner are favourites of mine, and we can get them later potentially.
So then,
I'm gonna. This is new for us, but I actually would seek a trade at this point to see if we could split our 168 into 2 picks around 200, because there's plenty of players there that we could pick up that aren't the players that have fallen.
Should we go back to the what? Should we see if Buffalo have got anything they want to trade there?
It'd be ironic if they suddenly don't want to trade.
168 for 200 and 248.
I think that's okay.
Yeah, let's give it
a go.
We're
getting slightly the rough end of that, but only just. Yeah, no doubt. I think that just positions us to address the last positions we need to touch on.
Yeah, so we can pad out the roster now. And then at 200, we've still got Keith Randolph Jr., Josh Proctor's there as well, who's someone that I would have considered. Eric Hall, Tanner McLaughlin. I think this might be where we take one of those tight ends. Or Lemieux is still there, actually.
Yeah.
And that'd be another guard prospect for us. And we pick next at 235.
I was trying to remember whether Lemieux was a player that had played tackle as well. I'm actually just going to check. I've got an inkling that he was.
Let's have a look.
Yeah,
he did. So,
yeah, I thought he was. He's a hybrid, and that absolutely is what we want at this point. Versatility on the line, cover for Abraham Lucas, depth for the middle of the line as well. That's
the mayor.
Yeah, lock that in. I think that's great. And I think we'll have at least one of our tight end prospects here.
We have, so we've got two. You can go Barner or Raymond.
I love Barner. Really, I really like it. I mean, it's boring because we do it every time.
Point, is it?
But yeah,
right.
I really like it.
There we go. Barner's the pick. And the last one we've got is at 248, and this is purely going to be depth, practice squad. Can you fill in? And the well is pretty bare. You could go quarterback Austin Reed. You've got old man Sam Hartman's there. He would instantly make the team a lot prettier. Or we could go for a running back. Because I'm looking at
for tradition's sake.
Exactly, but then you've got Dylan Johnson's there, bringing back to the PNW. And when fit, I think he's a fantastic weapon. And Ryan Grubb will know to use him as well.
Mm.
But there's not a lot else that
You struggle to get him on the field with the room we've got, though. But I take your point that if anyone knows how to unlock him, it's him. Didn't he have 2 4-touchdown games last year?
Yeah.
Which is pretty remarkable. I know it's college, but like,
Yeah, you've also got Gabriel Murphy, the edge from UCLA. He's available now. For anyone who's not sort of watching this, the board at the moment looks like Austin Reed. We've got Jamry Cromer, who's the defensive tackle from James Madison. Ryan Watts. This is one of those pods where I didn't want to be coughing and everything. I blame my wife for buying flowers and putting them in the house. You've got Jaden Cromartie, the defensive tackle from Mississippi State. Ryan Watts, safety from Texas. Josh DeBerry, the cornerback from Texas A&M. Johar, is it Johar? It is, yeah. Johar Jordan. Sam Hartman, who would literally just be bringing his hair and old age to the team. Darius Masau, yeah, the linebacker from UCLA. Isaac Rex, Luke Reimer, linebacker from Nebraska. Gabriel Murphy, or just below Gabriel Murphy. Dylan Johnson or Isaiah Williams from Illinois. You know what? For me, it's between Murphy and Johnson. I ain't gonna lie.
I'll let you pick this one, my friend. It's a flyer on the last pick, and I think we've addressed. There'll be people that think we haven't addressed the offensive line enough, but honestly, I think we're closer to a complete offensive line than people are giving it credit for.
There you go. Just for this comment on YouTube, Ryan Grubb having nightmares over his draft so far. I'm going to give him a present. I'll give him Dylan Johnson.
Love it.
And that is the last pick.
That's good.
Filling out our running back room. We've now got 4. So I'm quite happy with this. And we'll put up the what we think the new L.O.B could look like. We'll do a graphic for it and put it on our socials. But just to review, at 27, after trading back twice, we got Johnny Newton. At 57, we then got Cameron Kinchins. And then 66, Peyton Wilson. I love those top 3 picks, by the way. I think they're superb. At 81, my guy, Chris Abrams-Drain, who I've been pining for on every single one of our mocks, and he's either gone or there's been better players ahead of him. At 118, Jaden Hicks, just for Dan Viens. 150, Zach Zinter. And then at 200, we've got
Lemaitre, yeah.
Yeah. And you've got 235, your man AJ Barner, and at 246, purely for Ryan Grubb, Dylan Johnson.
And a token future third.
I think if we're looking at rebuilding the L.O.B with the type of players that we had there, and I'm even going to throw in Peyton Wilson into that mix. I think we've done a pretty successful job. When you look at the players we've got now, the youth that we've got in those positions and how they'll grow together, I'm happy. Let us know in the comments through our social medias. You can find us. We've got a Facebook page, Instagram. We've got an X, which we're most active on. You can find us in the Discord. Let us know how you thought we did. Feel free, grade us from A to... we'll take any criticism. We don't really mind. I'm expecting a lot of it as soon as I come off this podcast and go into my Facebook group for my fantasy football. And apart from that, all I'm going to say is thank you very much for joining this bonus episode. We're back on Sunday where we'll be going over all the news in greater depth. I may have another rant about the hip drop tackle once I've done a bit more research on it. Sorry, Mitch. God. Sorry for being passionate about something. And then Mitch will be back with all of his stats and facts. I'm pretty sure we might have be able to pull up a few nice little stories that have come out as well over the past week or two. Apart from that, if you do want to join us, by all means, drop us a DM, slide in there on any of our social media platforms. You can send us an email that is in the description below as well. But for me, for Mitch, I'm going to say, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.